Good afternoon. I'm here and I'm drinking kombucha today because just seemed a little too hot today. I just finished work for the weekend and I'm ready to have some fun. Today I wanted to talk about the decision to be just decisions to make with your soul and how do you make those decisions. I was just listening to a really powerful podcast between Aaron Lyons and then this other guy. I can't check right now because my phone is up there recording me now. So I will have to just put a link to the podcast in the description below. But they were just talking about some really powerful things that really hit home for me. And, just before I kind of launch into this, one thing that people say to me at work often is, how do you know this stuff? Like, how do you learn this stuff? And I'm not the kind of person that um I just listen to it a lot. I just study it a lot and it's one of those things where it's really easy to forget the stuff that we know like because we're sort of in this it feels like this matrix of, when you start thinking about things more in a spiritual sense. It's almost like we know what our normal once you start getting a concept that you're an eternal being and it goes on forever. It's almost like we can get tapped into that and it feels right and it feels normal. And then all of a sudden, before we know it, we've forgotten it. So I frequently listen to people that talk about this subject. So Erin Lyons is one of them, and she was in a podcast interview and they talked about several things. But one thing that stood out to me at the end was this idea. She talks about communing with source, God, creation, however you want to define the divine. And she says that the way to connect with your inner being, she said it's basically like prayer. You're just kind of always talking to what you believe, you know, to source or God or your higher mind, however you want to phrase it. And she talks about how she mentioned how it's not about like praise and worship and making this huge separation between you and God. It's more like you are an extension of source and so you're speaking like friends. And the interesting thing is when I was practicing my faith, I was raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or more commonly referred to as Mormons, not the group that does the excuse me, that currently practices polygamy. That was totally different, but more, when you see the Mormon missionaries with the name tags and, the guys are, the young guys are walking around in suits on missions and stuff. And, the one that has its headquarters in Salt Lake City with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. And I guess they call it the Tabernacle at Temple Square now because I don't know, they're trying to separate themselves from the name Mormon, whatever the case may be. Oh, hi, Cranberry House. Thanks for tuning in. Um, oh, I love your ladybugs. Ladybugs are a great sign, aren't they? When you guys see ladybugs, what do you think that's a sign for? I think it's always, I don't know, it does seem like ladybugs are often just a little hello from source. And so anyway, when I stopped practicing that faith, I noticed that after a couple of years of no longer being in the church, I noticed I had thrown a lot of things, like thrown the baby out with the bathwater in a lot of ways. And one of them was definitely prayer. I used to pray, we were told in my faith to pray always. And so I always had kind of a running conversation with Heavenly Father or God. But that was something that when I got married, and then uh, not too long after left the church. I stopped doing it. And then it's in the more recent years that I have been talking a little bit more freely, like kind of that I've kind of opened up more to prayer, but it is something that I've missed, and something that I think was an important component of my life and my spiritual well-being was having an open conversation with God. I do find that for me, the thing that happens most naturally is when I'm alone in a house, I tend to talk to God or source. And it sounds a lot like talking to myself, but I have an open conversation. And so sometimes when people are around, it's a little bit trickier, because I don't speak as freely, but I'm really lucky right now. The job that I have, I'm in an office, but for the most part, if I don't have patients there, I can talk as much as I want in the office because I'm by myself most of the time. And it's just been something that I think is really important because it opens a conversation. Um, One of the things that I've been, I have kind of in my one thing that I've been thinking about a lot over the last couple of years is this idea of the mastermind. And Napoleon Hill talked about the mastermind. And he talked about a mastermind is a group of people with a common goal that get together and discuss. And, it's like a meeting of the minds. But the interesting thing is, and I don't know if I mentioned this in another episode, but one of the things that somebody pointed out once is that when Napoleon Hill talks about the mastermind, he does actually bring up the idea that people in the mastermind were not actually living at the time when he would do the mastermind. I'm going to have to look for it exactly where there's evidence of this, but the idea is that you have kind of an open conversation, or this is a technique that I use. It comes very naturally to me, where I kind of open the door to imaginary conversation. I'm not like burning candles and having some sort of a séance. I'm not like trying to elicit signs from the other side or anything like that. It's more, you can almost just summarize it more like it is me and my brain and my soul, my heart and my mind doing my best to connect to my higher mind or my inner being or my guidance system. And then using my imagination to then sort of tap into the consciousness or the idea of other beings and their higher minds. I know that might sound weird, but it's something that I find to be very effective for me, because for me, I tend to need to talk out my decisions. And talking out my decisions with mere mortals, such as my family members, uh, is sometimes sounding like I'm soliciting advice. Often I'm not. Oh, hang on a second. We have got a warning that I need to. Oh, my keyboard batteries are low. I'll have to charge those soon. It sounds like I'm trying to sometimes when I'm talking to family members or friends, it sounds like I'm trying to solicit advice. Sometimes I am, but really what I want is the ability to talk out my thoughts and feelings in a way that's if I'm able to talk them out, I'm able to think through them a little bit better. And I do find it really helpful for me to get clear in myself if I can put words to what I'm trying to communicate or what I'm trying to understand that my question is, so that I can actually get and receive an answer. And so I find that this just sort of this casual idea of the mastermind. Sometimes I do it a little bit uh more formal, more kind of magical where I will light candles or something like that. I might light candles and I try to make it a little bit more significant, I suppose. So I might pull out, set out a glass of water and then light a candle. And then, so let's see, that's fire, water, and then I might find a little stone, so earth, and then wind for air. So then I might open the window. Kind of just like as a slightly just like a sort of magical ceremony a little bit, but I don't have to do that. It's usually pretty casual. So I just sort of if I might do it like that, I might not, and I might say something like, "Hey, higher mind, I'd like to talk to my higher mind, and I'd like to invite in the higher mind or the consciousness of these people." It might be I might want to kind of connect with maybe a grandparent or perhaps I might want to talk to Abigail Adams or something like that. I'm not going to be doing it more like it's not a séance. It's not me it it's not me trying to actually literally invite them here. It's more just sort of casually attuning my own mind and attuning my own imagination to the idea of a conversation that we could have. By the way, if you do this a lot, it can really help with your writing if you're a novelist because you're using your imagination and you're creating conversations. Um, anyway, this is a technique that I use to sort of have to help me connect to my own higher mind, my own soul, and externalize just some of my own inner uh like the noise inside my head to kind of externalize it and sort of I sort of put it in a place where I can easily access it. This is also very similar to the IFS systems that I talk about, I just called it internal family systems. It's this kind of therapy where you're connecting to the different parts inside of you. It's very similar work. Many would call this just a permission slip, like a technique or a tool that you might use to tap into the you that you really are so that you can really see your true self. So that is a technique that I use when making decisions. And today I have been really intrigued with the idea of not only, praying kind of the normal way, just having an open conversation with source or God throughout the day. That's one way. Then there's the mastermind way that I just shared with you. And then, of course, you can have a mastermind with actual people, real people that are alive in this life, that are your friends, colleagues, whatever. And if you want to get together and talk about a common purpose, that is a very effective way to help you get clear and make decisions. And then the other thing that I thought was interesting in this podcast that I listened to today, she talked about how when we are on our path, we might do what we think is a detour. So today it's about 4:50. It's almost 5 o'clock here. I've been doing these in the mornings, these tea and tells. And this week I had some really profound sort of insights and just I felt really, really good. I felt like myself. I felt like I was connected to my higher self and I felt like I'm about to have a breakthrough. I still feel like that. And then so this morning when I woke up and even yesterday, I kind of felt like, "Oh, tea and tell, is this even worth it?" is what I want to do, is what I've been doing here, even is it even helpful at all? Is this even gonna reach anyone? And is this even my purpose? Is this even part of what I should be doing? Or is there something bigger or better or something more profound? Now that was feeling much more powerful, it almost seemed like this seemed like maybe it wasn't part of my path. But what Erin said on the podcast really helped. And she said, you may wonder, I don't remember exactly how she said it. You may wonder if the path that you're on or the thing that you're doing right now is a detour or if it's a mini detour. And maybe this is me talking to you. Maybe this is a detour. Maybe this is not really aligned with my purpose. But for right now, and for last week, when it felt right in my purpose, it's still something that I've set in motion that I still feel good about. So I'm going to choose to keep doing this until I feel really like it's maybe the wrong thing. I hope. I think what I think what I was doing was asking myself, was it my excitement? Yes, it is my highest excitement, I think. I started to doubt whether it was my highest excitement, and then I could feel myself looking at the number of subscribers and starting to doubt. However, as of right now, this feels like certainly a part of my excitement. I don't know if it's the whole excitement, but as of right now, it's only taking me about a half an hour a day. It's only been 16 minutes that I'm talking. And if this helps someone, anyone on the planet, feel better about themselves and give themselves permission to be more of who they truly are, be more of themselves, and to love themselves unconditionally, or get just a little bit closer to loving themselves unconditionally, then I feel like I'm doing the right thing. And that this is maybe a detour and maybe part of my path. But the truth is, I'm never going to be really truly off my path because it's all the path. This is all it right here. We are living what you're doing now. If you can accept yourself and love yourself exactly where you are, that is magnetic and it will draw people in. So keep being yourself, keep being the one who be the one who loves yourself first. Don't wait for other people to love you or tell you that you're good enough because you are worthy now. And you are worthy now. You belong here, you belong on the planet, and you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You belong here and there's things that you still have to do here that can affect, who knows, it might affect 5 people around you or it might affect the whole world. But I'm going to keep making choices as best as I can to live into that and just keep lifting my voice and letting people know that message. And that is the message that I feel like I've been put here to do. And so whether I do it through YouTube forever or find other ways to do it, that's what I will be doing and dedicating my life and my time here to. So, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I think I'm going to start doing these. Let's try on 11 o'clock Pacific time as the new time. We're going to try to do, I will keep you updated, but next week it's going to be 11 Z's. That's T at 11 for all of next week Pacific time. And I will see you on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend and do something really fun. And we will talk soon. Remember your love you are worthy of all the love in the universe.